It feels like every single day there's another headline about AI, right? AI is writing code, AI is shaking up companies, AI is totally changing the job market. But what if the story that we're all seeing is just the tiniest little tip of the iceberg? Let's dive in and see what's really going on beneath the surface. So, when you hear AI and jobs, what's the first thing that pops into your head? I'm going to bet you're thinking about software developers, maybe data scientists, the usual tech jobs in Silicon Valley. And look, you're not wrong, but that popular story, it's dangerously incomplete. So, okay, let's start with that story everyone knows. We're going to look at the part of the AI economy that's really easy to see, the part that's making all those headlines. This is what researchers at MIT's Project Iceberg call the Surface Index. It basically measures AI's impact on jobs where the tech is already super obvious. Think software development and data science. And here's the key number. Get this. This visible disruption, it accounts for just 2.2% of the total wages in the entire labor market. It really is just the tip of the iceberg. And as this map shows so clearly, that visible impact isn't spread out evenly at all. Nope. It is heavily concentrated in those coastal tech hubs we always hear about, places like Washington, Virginia, and California. So if you live anywhere else, you might be thinking, this whole AI thing doesn't really concern me. But that's where the real problem starts. See, the real issue here is that we're trying to navigate this brand new AI economy with old, totally outdated maps. And that's creating a massive, and I mean massive, economic blind spot. Think about it. Our traditional economic tools, like the census, they were built for a physical world. They are fantastic at tracking things you can pin on a map, a factory, a storefront, a worker's home. But the AI economy, it's completely different. It's made of work that happens through AI, of human AI teams that have no geographic anchor. They live on private digital platforms that the census just can't see. And this is the real danger. We're relying on lagging indicators. By the time the unemployment numbers or the GDP figures finally show a change, the disruption has already happened. We're literally trying to drive a car by looking only in the rearview mirror. So if our old maps are obsolete, what do? Well, you build a new kind of tool. Not a map of the surface, but more like a sonar, something that can see what's happening deep down in the depths. And that is exactly what Project Iceberg did. They pulled this off by building a simulation of the entire U.S. economy. It was a huge undertaking. First, they mapped out the skills of 151 million human workers. Then, they cataloged the capabilities of over 13,000 AI tools. And finally, they simulated billions, with a B, of interactions between them to find every single point of overlap between what humans can do and what AI can do. And the result is this brand new metric they call the Iceberg Index. Now, this is super important. This isn't about predicting job losses. It measures something called technical exposure. It looks at all the skills in the economy, figures out their value in wages, and then calculates what percentage of that total value is tied to skills that AI can now perform. It is not a prediction. It's a capability map. And with this new sonar, well, we can finally look beneath the waterline and see the true scale of what's really happening. All right, here it is, the big reveal. Remember that visible surface index we talked about? As you can see on the chart, that's just 2.2%. But look at the full iceberg index right next to it. That number just explodes to 11.7%. That's an impact 5 times larger. And it's not happening in software development. No, this hidden mass is what the researchers call cognitive automation. It's AI's growing ability to do tasks in finance, in HR, customer support, administrative services. It's the white-collar work that is the backbone of almost every single industry. Just to put that 11.7% in perspective for you, it represents about $1.2 trillion in annual wages. This isn't some small ripple, it's a massive hidden economic current. A number that big isn't just an abstract statistic. It's real work being done by real people in real communities. So now that we can see the whole iceberg, what does this new map actually tell us? Well, it turns out the country's economic risk profile is completely different than what we thought. Just look at this comparison. On the left, that's the map of the visible tech disruption, the surface index, all bunched up on the coasts. Now look to the right. That's the full iceberg index. The exposure shifts dramatically. This is no longer a Silicon Valley story. This is a story about the entire country. And this leads to some absolutely incredible surprises. I mean, states you would never expect, like South Dakota and Delaware, they actually have a higher technical exposure than California. But why? Well, it's because they have a huge concentration of administrative, financial, and professional service jobs, exactly the kind of cognitive work that's lurking beneath the surface. This map here shows what the researchers call the automation surprise. Basically, the redder a state is, the bigger the gap between its visible tech risk and its hidden white-collar risk. These are the places that are most likely to be totally caught off guard. And the biggest surprises of all are in America's industrial heartland. States like Ohio and Michigan might be focused on robots on the factory floor, but this data shows a much larger, more immediate wave of exposure is coming for the administrative and coordination jobs in the offices that support those factories. Okay, so seeing the whole picture is step one. But the real power of a tool like this is that it gives us a new kind of compass to navigate what's coming next, letting us prepare instead of just reacting. And this slide right here proves just how blind our old tools are. The data shows that a state's GDP has some connection to the visible tech disruption, which, makes sense. But look at the correlation with the hidden Iceberg Index. It's basically zero. This means our standard economic tools, like GDP and unemployment, give us absolutely no warning about this massive hidden risk. And I really want to hammer this point home. The Iceberg Index is not a crystal ball. It is not predicting that 11.7% of jobs are just going to disappear. Think of it as a capability map. It shows us where human skills and AI skills are starting to overlap, and that gives us a chance to strategically prepare and reskill. It's not a forecast of doom. By using this as a planning tool, leaders can actually see the hotspots before they become crises. They can target investments in training. They can test out different strategies to see what really works. And they can do all that before committing billions of dollars to programs that might be aimed at solving yesterday's problems. It's pretty clear our old economic maps are obsolete for the AI era. We're sailing in brand new waters now. So the question we're all left with isn't if our workforce is going to be reshaped by this technology, it's whether we'll have the foresight to actually prepare for it.